Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Europa Universalis 5 as we're playing as England. So based on your guys' suggestions, it seems that many of you would like me to enlarge Aquitaine, at least to an extent, and there's a few things we need to do in order to get the locations I'd want over there. So we're sending the smaller army, our second army over there, which means we're going to have to bring the fleet here to actually ship them. And I just saw the army of Flanders on the move over there, so we might need to engage them. We can also stop this siege over here as well, not that they've progressed it very far. Let's go ahead and bring the royal army up here, since it looks like Flanders is attempting to attack us. Well, I'm not seeing them over here anymore. We can attempt to siege down the fort. Another comment that I saw quite a bit of support for is attempting to make Flanders our vassal, so taking them from the French. The problem with that idea is that it's too expensive. If we attempt to make them our dominion or our vassal, you know, there's different options we could do with them. That would be the majority of our war score. In fact, it might be the only thing we could do. I suppose we'll take this back first, since this is the province capital. We don't want them to flip all this. And then we're going to go after this province here, because I would like to take that in the peace treaty just to make the maps of Aquitaine look a bit better. Because I want to seize this location since it has the fort. And so it'd be really helpful to have that under control with this one. Maybe this one as well. But if you're going to grab these two, then I feel like you have to get Cognac, or else it looks kind of weird. Now down here, there's not really a whole lot you can do that doesn't result in the map looking strange unless you take all of these locations, and I think that'd be a little bit too much war score considering the fact that I believe we should go all the way to Paris, guys. Okay, they're not going anywhere. That's just I think it's like a broken animation where the troops will be moving forward as if they're marching somewhere, but they're actually not. They're just standing still. There are some kind of broken things when it comes to armies. We've already seen a few of those in the series, so that's another victory against their forces. I don't think there's any reason to force the ships out there, considering the fact that our fleet is way over here. So with that location back under our control, or under the control of Aquitaine, let's go take Cognac. And it looks like they're sieging down the location over here again. It's not that big of a deal because we're not going to take any of this over. We're probably going to stop right here. Like go all the way down to Paris. I could see maybe taking these two as well. And we shouldn't need to actually occupy those in order to ask for them. We just got an event that's going to give us, oh nice, a very nice modifier. So we're going to have this for 10 years, and it's going to reduce all the antagonism that we receive. So that's going to be incredibly helpful because just the peace treaty that I was planning on doing was going to result in a lot of antagonism. We're going to attempt to intercept this fleet, see if we can't destroy some of their ships. We haven't had a lot of luck in the past. They've been escaping us, unfortunately. So we've got control of Cognac, and the reason why we need to do that is because this is not directly under France. It's controlled by one of their vassals, so therefore we couldn't ask for it in the treaty unless we controlled it. And now we can also just do a separate peace treaty. I think that's what we're going to do. We'll get some extra money too. I don't think there's anything else we can do here besides, I mean, we could be humiliating all them for extra prestige. Yeah, we probably should have been doing that with all of our separate peace treaties and war reparations as well, if you can get it out of them. So yeah, let's go ahead and make this treaty. And it looks weird right now, but once we get control of these two locations, it shouldn't look too bad. And unfortunately, I did forget to give that to Aquitaine, so we would have needed to transfer occupation over them so that it would go to them in the peace treaty. But we could just sell it to them. So we got a little bit of gold out of Aquitaine for that. So now they'll have control of this location. And we'll have to do the same thing here because you can't actually transfer occupation unless you've occupied it, which I did not intend to go after that fort. We were just going to take it in the treaty. So that's everything we needed to do over here. Just make sure that siege didn't succeed and grab Cognac. So after we finish up with this fleet battle, then we'll move our army back over to here. And then maybe do this siege. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about ending the conflict, guys. All right, so that battle is over. So let's go ahead and pick up our troops. It would just be easier to go. grab them over here, I think. And then we'll bring them back to the other front. We can also stop here and take control of Jersey. Why not? Well, that's interesting. It seems that the French have called Castile from Iberia into the conflict. Probably using this action, the request war entry. So we have to make a choice here. We can either quickly make peace. Of course, there's a couple things we need to do. We need to seize control of that before we can make peace. But we can quickly make peace, so we don't have to fight any of the Castilian forces and see them perhaps reverse our gains. Or in the face of an impending plague, we could actually extend the conflict by pulling in some of our allies. So now that Castile's in, they won't join. I checked this before, and they were willing to join our conflict if we were willing to give them some territory. But now that Castile's involved, it looks like that's a no for them. But Ront will still join. And so that'd be some additional troops, maybe 8,000 dudes that could come help us. Because Castile is going to bring in a lot of extra units. So we might be able to win that. But yeah, I really don't want to fight the Spanish troops. So I don't think we're going to do this siege here, guys. Let's just go and end that. Try and get this territory taken over. I think it's in our best interest to just go and end the war as quickly as we can. Alright, so we did win that battle. And that was just due to the sheer number of troops that we have. And so with this army, let's go ahead and have them take Jersey back under our control. That's just to get a bit more war score. I guess we'll also take care of this army here. So they're not able to seize control of that location. Wipe out those 33 dudes. It's pretty easy. They're attempting to leave, but they're not going to be able to escape. So yeah, we'll get them wiped out. And then we need to wipe out this army and take this location back over, because we won't be able to seize it in the treaty if we don't. And it looks like those 10,000 men are on the march as well. So we could take those out. So they're trying to take the fort. This castle does have a garrison, so we don't have to worry about them taking that easily. We're going to vent here closer ties with the House of Lebanon. I'm fine with marrying our sister to this mercenary captain here in order to get the increased estate satisfaction, and we don't want to get that big ol' hit. So after taking Jersey, we got our army back over here. I wonder if we could get a separate peace treaty with Castile. They would accept a white peace, but we can't get anything from them. Yeah, let's do the white peace, so we don't have to worry about them being in the conflict anymore. That did use up one of our diplomats. We're still doing pretty good in that regard. Taking this back over, let's go and attack this army. And you know what? I think we're probably going to do peace. We're just going to kill some more Frenchmen first, kind of like a last battle. And we're looking pretty good at a war score of 76.08. And so I think we're going to go ahead and make peace. Seize control of these locations over here. And then most of what we're going to be getting is all this territory up to Paris. That's the plan. We'll see what else we can get from them as well. So we're going to start with the territory in Aquitaine. And then we'll start taking the territory over here. I did want to show you guys just how expensive it would be to make Flanders our vassal. Now we could force them to be freed. That might be a bit cheaper. So if we want to make them a dominion, a fiefdom, or a vassal, it would be 74.34 war score. So quite a bit, guys. I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather grab all this territory for ourselves, because we'd just have to take this before we could do that. We'd have to take over, I think, this castle. I think that's the one we need to take. Which we can't even get to that without doing an invasion, and then we'd have to supply our troops by sea because they wouldn't have any food there. So basically you have to take this one if you don't want to have to do that. And so it's a real hassle, and certainly not worth it. So we're just going to go after all this territory here, all the way up to Paris. So we're going to take all that over. Would be nice to get like these ones. We'd have to go over there and actually occupy those. So they're not willing to accept this. And I feel like we have to take this territory in Aquitaine now, since we grabbed that. It looks kind of strange without it. I mean, it's fine. But even if we did take that off the peace treaty, they still would not be willing to accept. is just too high. So you'd have to give up like even more. This is what you could do. This is what they're willing to accept. So I suppose we got to keep it going to get more war score then, because I've decided I want more than that. Getting greedy here, guys. So we'll go ahead and start occupying some of these locations that aren't fortified just to get more war score. I don't see how we don't take another fortification though. We could go after the one in Flanders. You know what, let's do that. Let's have this army finally attempt to take the one in Flanders. And we've attempted it multiple times, but have not succeeded yet. Something always happens. And the Cardinals just passed a papal bull that will give us some institution growth. Let's go ahead and pull back on that. And I suppose we'll try and see if we can't get that one for at least a month. We actually have some money to spend. And I think we're going to spend it on an RGO, maybe the masonry, to make all future buildings a bit cheaper. So we have a few different locations where we can construct this. It's not really going to be profitable in any location that we build it in, but we just want to make masonry cheaper because just about everything uses masonry. You could also do this with the lumber, and we'd actually make a bit of a profit if we did that. So we could invest in Portsmouth, because some buildings require the lumber, but most require masonry, so I think that's the one you want to invest in first. And that'll make any future buildings that we construct a little bit cheaper, even if it's not exactly profitable. You know, the building isn't. So we're having to retake all these province capitals because some little tiny army of like 300 dudes took them from us. Yeah, they're just, this one right here, just causing us all kinds of problems. Taking back all the locations that I seized, because I grabbed that one too. We also just completed that mission, a great capital. So this will result in London's development increasing by 1. So that's pretty helpful. You can get more if we had constructed more buildings before we click this. We're just going to go ahead and take the 1 development so that we can move on to the next task, which is assembly halls. So you have to have at least one of the following in London, our capital, either a royal court or a republican assembly, which we already have there. We started with that. And this is one of the ones that takes time to complete, but once it's done, we'll get symbol of power, which will increase our legitimacy and our legislative efficiency. So we're going to get that started. So still working on the siege there. And with this one done, we could try and take that location back over, I suppose. Just trying to get that war score as high as possible. So we're going to let this siege finish up. And that's probably going to be it, guys. Hopefully that'll be enough. They did seize control of these again. They're going after that fortification over there as well. So we're almost done with the siege. Pretty much just waiting for that to complete. And then we'll do the peace treaty. Remember, we're also getting that attacker ticking bonus. So we're at 14.5%. So, you know, it continues to go up the longer that we have this conflict going. Just having a lot of trouble finding a route that will stick. So yeah, the siege again will be the last thing that we do here. As soon as we get that completed, the war score will be good enough. Might not be able to get everything we want, but we can get more than what we saw in the last attempt. Should at least be able to get control, I'm hoping anyways, of Aquitaine. We might have to maybe give up a couple of the locations that I had wanted over here. And the Pope actually just ended their alliance with us. Well, that's unfortunate. We still have 2 allies though, so it's not a major issue. And these 1,800 troops are going to attack us for some reason. I think they're trying to go somewhere else. And we'll just keep on wiping out these French troops. Oh, wait a minute, we should go over here. Because they're about to take that province capital over. Can't stop that. What we can do is defeat this army, stop them from taking that one, and then retake it before all these provinces here flip. Alright guys, so here in March 1348, I think we're finally ready to make peace. I seized control of several locations here in Flanders, so we're going to get those in the peace treaty. Because France is willing to give up quite a bit. Their war enthusiasm, you know, last time we looked at this, it was 11%. It's now down to 0. They do not want to continue the conflict. They've lost 83,000 men already, and we've lost 23,000. Although I feel like these aren't exactly accurate, because I think both sides have probably lost more than that. We've had so many battles. Yeah, I feel like these might not be the most accurate, but this is what it says right now. 23,000 casualties for our side, almost 84,000 for theirs. So this is what we're going to be getting the peace treaty. So we can get both of these locations for Aquitaine. And remember, since we haven't actually occupied those two locations, we can't give them over to Aquitaine. We'll have to do the same thing we did with this one. We'll have to sell it to them when we don't have to. That's the best way to do it, is to get a little bit of money for it. And this is a lot more than I had on there before. And that's largely because of that nice 20% reduction that we're getting to the antagonism. And if we look at the 17 countries that might join a coalition, we don't have to be concerned about any of these. It's just basically France and their vassals. We don't really care if they want to join a coalition with each other, because if we fought the French, we'd have to fight them all anyways. But that is all we're going to take when it comes to territory. If we took any more, then there would be other countries that would join that coalition. And there's a lot of other things that we can do that won't increase the antagonism. So we won't make any vassals here. We could attempt to force them to cancel certain vassals. But before we do that, I'd first like to get the war reparations, because it's France, so you can get a lot of money from this. And then it says they have treaties with all these countries. I want to see if any of these are alliances, because if they are, then we might want to force them to cancel that, so that when we attack them in the future, we don't have to fight those countries. So their only alliance is with Castile, so that's why Castile joined. It wasn't from using that one action. It's because they're an ally. Okay, so we'll want them to cancel the treaty with Castile. And we're at the 97 war score. So like if we attempted to get them to cancel one of their subjects, doesn't matter which one here, I'll just say we did this one, you'll see that even though they'd be willing to accept it, we can't do it. And that's because you can't do a peace treaty that's more than 100. So because we demanded that they annul their alliance with Castile, we won't be able to do anything else outside of like just demanding some money. We could also humiliate them, I suppose, in order to get some extra prestige, though that's too expensive too. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that one either. I don't need to take over the market center from France, because we'll already have the market with Paris being seized from them. So don't need to worry about that. So basically just money, which this gives you the most they're willing to accept. But that is obviously over the 100. So we can get 57, that's it. But this is a fantastic peace treaty, guys. It's a massive victory for us. Very, very significant. Of course, the map looks a little strange here with that territory that we just took, because we weren't able to get any of Normandy. But we did get those two locations from Flanders, including Dunkirk. And maybe in the next war, we can get some of the Norman territory, maybe all of it. So the first thing we need to do is get that territory into Aquitaine's hands. So let's go ahead and sell each of these locations. So that's the first one, and we'll have to wait before we can do the other one. I should have did the coastal one second, but that's fine. And then we also need to disband all of our levies. And before we do that, we want to make sure that we detach the levies so that we don't disband our regular army units. So let's go and move these guys over here, and we'll bring them back home with the fleet. So these guys got to finish up their move first, detach the levies. There's 0 dudes in this army. Make that make sense. And then disband the levies. We also need to disband our naval levies. Oh, we have 10 ships now. Did we seize control of one? The other thing we need to do is take a look at the fort situation. So we have the one in Paris covering the south, and we'll leave that one there, obviously. But we have 2 or 3 here covering some of the same provinces. So what I think we're going to do is get rid of this one. It's just the one that makes the most sense. We'll also have to change a few things with our budget. So yeah, we'll bring our army back home after years of war. The heroes return. So let's go and take a look at what adjustments we might want to make here. So I think we're pretty good with taxes. We could tax the burghers just a little bit. Don't need to pay fort maintenance or the army maintenance. You may have noticed that we're earning a lot of diplomats right now, and that's because of the call for peace. So once the war's gone on for 60 months and, you know, we clearly won it, you're supposed to try and make peace. And it results in you getting monthly war exhaustion. Now, obviously that's not being applied, but for some reason the diplomats still are. But yeah, your people want peace, so they get more exhausted with the conflict, and you'll get more diplomats to make it easier for you to make peace. Here's the indicator of our potential coalition that we could be facing, because we did just stack up a lot of antagonism. We can go ahead and minimize these here. Our cabinet members need to be given a new assignment, so we're going to stop strengthening the government. Legitimacy is pretty high at the moment. We need to integrate this new territory that we just got. So we'll just start working, we'll just work from the north down. So we'll do our Artois first. We'll get our fleet back out here doing what they were doing before the war. That's patrolling the seas. Again, we'll assign them all these areas, even though they're not going to be able to patrol the entire thing. So now that a month has passed and we're in April, you notice we're making a lot more money. It seems a lot of this is from the diplomatic income that we're getting. We can see exactly how much we're getting from everybody. That we're getting from the war reparations. And quite a bit of that is from France, as you'd expect. But our tax income has also gone up, because while we don't have fantastic control over many of these locations, we do have some control in just a few of the provinces. But most of them it's 0. So you could definitely make an argument to hand this over to a vassal. We'd have to make one. And there's a few different options here. So let's go into the create subjects. You can do custom subjects. So in that case, you just give any locations you want to a country that's usually named after the area. Or you can do historical subjects. And you can see what territory they get. The problem with the historical subjects is that they often look kind of weird. So like in this case, Champagne, obviously most of their territory is in French hands, so we'd only be giving them that one location. One thing I wanted to mention is Cornwall here. You know, we don't have any control of this region, and so it does make sense to release them because you'll get that money from them. Of course, they'll also have their levies, but we've seen how useful vassal levies are. The main reason to release them is because you'll get that income from them. So that's always an option. I know some people do that as soon as they start. We're going to try and gain control of Cornwall, though. In fact, we'll probably see if we can't get a road building out that way now. Because that would benefit not just Cornwall, it would benefit all the areas that the road goes through. So we'll take a look at the road building here in a minute. We do need to have our uncle do something else. Probably go ahead and have him integrate a province. So we'll work on... This one will be probably fairly quick. And I expect that to be quick. And then let's see how much it would cost for us to get a road built over to Bristol. So 337. So that's what we'll do, and then we'll have the road go from there down to Cornwall. So we'll start with that. It's pretty expensive. So roads grant a variety of different bonuses. You can see that here. So reduce movement costs, reduce market access costs, reduce proximity, which is that's how it's going to affect your control. Also going to increase the institution growth, the local monthly development growth, and the construction speed. But you get that just for having a road go through there. So, having roads go from London, out in all the different directions isn't going to result in you getting that bonus multiple times. So the coalition is growing, and Lady Elizabeth is now of age, and she's our daughter, so we could potentially get a royal marriage in this case. I don't really care about the age range for male characters, since I don't think it affects them having children as it does with females. So one of the things we can do is set it so that we only take a look at direct heirs. I believe this also includes rulers, or if you just want somebody who's in the line of succession. Which, I don't know if you guys have noticed, you can assassinate characters in this game. I'll have to show you guys. That is a possibility, so you can kind of do the shenanigans that you get into in the CK series, so that you can have somebody inherit whose succession is more beneficial to you. Yeah, I don't see us doing any of these. I just wanted to show you guys that this is an option in here. There's all different types of things you can set, filters that you can set. But we're just looking for somebody powerful maybe to make our relationship with Aragon stronger. And also make Castile like us a bit more. But this is the bastard. So I think we're going to do the marriage with Aragon here. And we'll just do, I think, this character, just because he's the older one. Alright, so we married our daughter Elizabeth. That's our eldest daughter. We also have that new market here in Paris. So we got a little bit of capacity there. We'll probably leave it on automated. We can set up the initial trades. This one's not going to last, I'll tell you that right now. So let's do a few profitable trades here. And so that's going to result in us getting more money too. So I think that's part of where that increase of income is coming from. So this here is a strange event. Doesn't seem all that balanced. And you know, when I did this in my first playthrough as England, I didn't see any consequence of going with the third option because I don't know why you'd go for any other option. These will reduce the pop satisfaction in different locations. But if you negotiate a monetary settlement, you'd think there'd be some type of cost to it, but there's not. Or at least it's not in here. And it just increases pop satisfaction everywhere. So I don't know why you'd go for either of those. I don't know if this isn't working properly or if it's not showing everything it does. But it doesn't cost us anything, so it makes the most sense to do that third option. So we're going to let them finish up with this road, and then we're going to get a few things constructed. I want to show you guys the effects. It won't be immediate, but the effects of the proximity. So we'll let a month pass. Let's take a look at the proximity and how it's changed. So you'll notice there's more proximity up along that road. So that's better. And then the control is going to be slightly better as well, though this takes a bit of time to climb up to what the maximum control is. So like it's at 27% right now, but maximum is almost 34%. So it's just going to take time for it to get to its full extent. So we're not seeing the full effects of the road just yet. Eventually we're going to want to build the road out this way. But before we do that, there's a few other things I'd like to work on. So the first is a naval building, the wharf. So this gives us more monthly sailors, which we're really not producing that much. Not for England anyway. Also increases your trade capacity by a slight amount. You can build ships wherever you get this. But what we're getting it for is the harbor capacity. So this reduces the cost of going from sea to land and vice versa in the proximity and trade calculations. And you can only build these in like urban locations. So we have a new urban location, Yarmouth. You guys recall we did that last episode. And so we're going to go ahead and get that built. There's certain buildings that you can only have in urban locations, and you often will build those as soon as you get a new town. Another example of those type of buildings is a temple. So this increases the max literacy for the clergy, and that location also reduces unrest. But more importantly, it increases your max control. And so you'll see we already have them in all of our urban locations, so we're going to want to place one in the new one. And then there's some government buildings I'd like to construct. So the Chancery, this will increase the literacy for nobles and burghers and also increase the cabinet efficiency. And of course, we always want that literacy higher so you can research faster. So it's beneficial to get this here in our capital. And there are ways to increase the levels of that so you can have more of them. And then the other thing that I want to show you guys is the bailiff. So this is a special building that you can only construct in rural locations. And it acts as a local proximity source, but only if the proximity would be better than what they'd get from the capital. So it's useless if it's a location that's already kind of close to the capital or, you know, within distance where proximity isn't a huge issue. But when you're dealing with like areas here in Cornwall, which are really far away, this can be beneficial. Also like territory that goes across the sea, this can be helpful. However, it does have a significant penalty because it results in the nobles getting more powerful. So you need to be careful where you construct these. Make sure it's worth it. We're not going to get any of those just yet, but I wanted to show that we can get them. I want to see what the effects of the road is going to be. And there are other ways to increase the control. One of them is the Royal Forest. And then there's a bunch of stuff that will unlock as we get later in the game as well. It gets easier to increase your control as you get more tools. But the Royal Forest is another option, and it has an additional benefit. It increases the local crown power. So it gives you more max control, does have some penalties to it. The first being that the development will grow slower, and the second is a major penalty. You cannot upgrade the location to a town. So you have to make sure that you build this somewhere where you do not intend to ever make an urban location. But the max control and the crown power are definitely worth it. And we actually already have a couple of these. There's one right here in Retford, as well as one up here in the north. And we do have one here. So that's clearly not having too much of an effect because the control here is so bad in Cornwall because we have those buildings. I believe they're in all these locations here. And so building them here probably wouldn't be all that helpful, but up here, you know, where we've seen control is not as high as we like it, it would be helpful to put them up here. You got to construct them in a location that has forest already. It just doesn't make sense to do otherwise. Though you can construct them in some of these other areas. I think we're going to put it right here. So our rural forest will be right next to each other. Oh, well, that's interesting. Edmund is gifted. So he's going to be very skilled. So if we wanted to, we could drastically increase his skills by doing the expensive education if we wanted to save up for that. What I think we're going to do, if we look at our other sons, so we have Lionel, he's doing the administrative education. I changed that a while ago because we have John doing the diplomatic one. So he should be good at diplomacy. I think Lionel's pretty decent at diplomacy too. We're trying to get his admin skill up because I think he has a trait that grants it to both. So we're trying to focus on the admin skill there. So it would make sense to have one of our sons be really good with the military. So even though he's gifted and it'll boost all these stats, we're going to really focus on that military education, try and get his military skill as high as possible, and he'll be able to assist his brother in war eventually. So the Black Death has finally arrived in our country. So that's been on the continent here. So eventually it's going to make its way across the English Channel and into our home territories. So it's time for us to take a look at this situation for the first time. So here for the main actions, we can move our court into hiding. This is something we're definitely going to want to do because this will reduce the risk that anyone in the court will die from plague. And I have had almost my entire royal family die from the plague once. It doesn't generally happen, but it did happen once. I think I lost my king, his wife, and like 3 of his children. So it went terrible. So we're going to go ahead and do this, even if it is going to result in us getting a little penalty here. We're also going to lose some stability. So we'll enact that. You can also do the isolate the cities. However, we are not able to enact it because our burghers are not satisfied enough. And we don't even have any urban locations that currently have the plague. But yeah, we'd have to please the burghers before we could enact the isolation of the cities. Here for the food and trade actions, we can control the food market or we can isolate the country. Both of these actions will cost stability. The first one will result in all food being banned as an export. And we'll get this modifier here that will move us towards traditional economy and also is going to reduce the satisfaction of many of our states. Many of these are going to affect estate satisfaction. Isolating the country. This will ban any foreigners from imports and exports, move us towards traditionalists and traditional economy, and really going to piss the burghers off. So we're not going to do either one of these two. And the reason we're not going to do that is because trade does spread disease. You know, armies can spread disease, fleets can spread disease, and trade certainly does as well. But the plague is going to spread across all our territory regardless of what we do. So I don't really see any reason to try and block off trade and piss off our people when you know that the plague is going to come through here. I should mention that with each one of these blocks, outside of the main ones, you can only do one of them. So like with the disease control actions, we can only enact one of these 3 options. And so before the disease came to our territory, you may have noticed that we did have a couple different things we could do. We didn't have as many choices. So if you'd jumped right in and decided to do whatever that option was, then you wouldn't be able to choose to do anything else without getting rid of that option, which has a cost. I think it reduces your stability. So I would suggest that you wait to interact with any of this until the plague actually makes it to your country, so you have the full options available. So we have 3 choices here for disease control actions. We could procure remedies. This will increase estate satisfaction, but it will cost us gold every month. We'll get some stability and legitimacy, and then in all of our markets, it's going to add this modifier here, which increases the demand for these goods. So fiber crops, gems, medicaments, liquor, so on. So yeah, there'll be a higher demand for all those goods, and if you can't meet them, then you're gonna get a penalty to your estate satisfaction. So this option can be helpful for stability and satisfaction reasons, but one thing you'll notice is nowhere here does it say it's going to help us with the plague, because it doesn't. It doesn't do anything for your people, not to my knowledge anyway. So you're just paying money to get, the stability and the state satisfaction. And so one of these other two options I think would be better if you're trying to keep as many people alive as possible, which do note our current population here at the start of the plague is 4.173 million. So that's going to decline by a lot. Regardless of what we do, building hospitals, enacting control actions, we're gonna lose a lot of people. So just go ahead and expect that. We can segregate the infected. Not as complicated as this one. It's just a modifier here that will decrease the estate satisfaction for burghers and the peasants, move us towards communalism, and it's going to give us a plus 15% disease resistance. So that's pretty significant since you're getting it across your entire country. When we looked at the hospitals, one of the actions here is to build disease resistance buildings, and we have to go to this one to be able to see those. So the hospital increases it by 10%, and you got to spend all that money to construct it, and it only affects those urban locations where you build them. There's also the mission, but we can't build this anywhere. So yeah, there's no options for that. But that would have gave a 5% in those locations you can build it. Again, here's England. We don't have that choice. But yeah, you're getting 10% in just those locations compared to this one where you're getting the 15% across your entire country. But if disease resistance is your goal and you really don't care about satisfaction of your states, then expel the sick is actually the best option in a way. So you're going to have the same decreases to the estate satisfaction. It's going to even move you further towards communalism. But then you can construct this pest house, which this increases unrest, so really going to cause some issues in your country. But you're going to get a huge 30% bonus to the disease resistance. So this is 3 times what the hospital grants, and it costs a quarter of the price. So it's a really solid building even with the unrest. However, you have to actually construct those in order to get the 30% bonus. Now you can construct those anywhere, including the rural areas, unlike the hospitals. But yeah, it's very, very expensive. And so I think it's a better option to just only take the stability loss here, which, you get that with all of these options, except for this one. This one's just going to cost you money. I think it's better to just take the stability loss and then get this modifier here, the 15%, without having to construct any further buildings. So we're going to do that, and then you'll see that we cannot enact either of these other two because we have to first repeal segregate the infected. And I suppose it doesn't have a cost. You just lose the modifier. I was thinking you lose some stability, but you already lost stability when you enacted it. So that's why I'm saying you don't really want to, be changing your mind here. You should just pick one and then stick with it for the rest of the situation. And then these social actions are the last thing to look at. So the first one is sponsor mass forgiveness. And this one actually has a penalty to disease resistance. A movie towards spiritualists, increase clergy power, but it's going to give you some estate satisfaction, as well as some monthly gold. And so that's helpful. That would actually pay for this one, the procure remedies. And you get a nice little bit of stability here. It doesn't make any sense for us to do that, because we're basically giving up disease resistance that we have here just to appease our pops. We should have never done this one if we're going to do that. And then there's the present scapegoats. So this increases stability by 7 rather than the 12, and then gives you this modifier. And that'll increase pop conversion speed, not that we have anybody to convert in our territory. Increase tolerance of the true faith while reducing the tolerance of other beliefs. And then it's going to make your clergy happy while irritating your peasants. So I don't know if it's worth it. Yeah, I don't think we're going to do either of these two options. I think this is the only one we're going to do, guys. And of course we did the hiding for our court as well. And that's going to be it, guys. So we have some money, so we can go ahead and start some construction. Although it's not going to be long before we start to have issues staffing all of our buildings because, everybody dies. So we can build some bridges, anywhere we have the road constructed and there's a river. And this is going to further reduce the local proximity costs. So we're going to build this all through here. rather than getting the road just yet. So let's improve that. You know, we'll get one here as well. Just working on the control, because you know we can construct economic buildings, but they're not as profitable as they would be without the market access and the control. So I think we should work on that first. Medical professionals in one of our locations want access to all these recently deceased people, so dead bodies, in order to study them. So we can grant them access. We'll get some research progress, but we'll lose stability. We'll move towards innovative, also lose some pop satisfaction, but we'll gain some prosperity, so that's good. Or we can say no good will come from this, in which case it'll be the opposite effects. We're going to go with this, even though it is going to cost us the stability. We just finished up research of feudal relations, increasing the loyalty of the subjects. And I think I said I was going to look see if we wanted to go down the military route, because I didn't know if we were going to still be at war, and clearly we're not. And eventually we do want to get these, but I think it'd be more beneficial to get stuff that would help us right now, because we cannot go to war with France again until 1356, I believe is when our truce will expire. Yeah, it's April of 1356. So I think it would be better to work on some other stuff first. So we could improve the estate satisfaction for our nobles, which means we'll be able to tax them more. More food production is helpful too, but we got to get these ones first before we'll be able to do that. A lot of good stuff here, but you got to get those. So I think we're going to work on these ones. Increase the subject opinion to get higher literacy. Diplomatic annexation costs, that'd be helpful as well. Reduce the cost of court. Could also increase the medicants output. I don't think we're going to get that right now. There's more important things. So here's the spread of the plague. Seeing it move through our territory on the continent. Only a matter of time before it gets here. And yeah, it's already spreading everywhere. And so you can see that our population is already dropping dramatically here. Let's go ahead and deal with this trade situation first. And then looks like we can do another parliament. So we're going to do that here in the capital. And out of all of our available choices, I think we should do probably sponsor a cathedral. Costs us a little bit of money, but these are pretty useful, increasing the literacy, migration attraction, and the local pop conversion, and it's going to be built in London. So those are all things we want in our capital. We could also do the market regulations. While it's being debated, you get that trade efficiency, and once it's done, you'll get 20% trade advantage. So that's pretty helpful. I think we're going to go for this one. It'll be easier to pass too because they have a bit more power. So we should only have to give in to one agenda, most likely of the nobles. And I'm actually fine with doing this one. So that gets us up to 69%, and we should be able to get that passed. We got another plague event, this one about scapegoats. So we can blame minorities basically. Or we could say we cannot use my subjects as scapegoats. This would reduce our stability, and it would please anybody of the card culture, so in that recently conquered territory, move us towards humanists as well. Or you can move towards spiritualists, get the stability, and please anybody of our English culture, so the majority of our people, will upset our newly conquered peoples. Seems like a clear choice to me. We should spread rumors and accusations against minorities. That's terrible. But it's the most beneficial option, so that's what we're going for. Because you know, Paradox games, it's an atrocity simulator. Basically, you just do terrible things. You justify it because of financial or stability reasons. We're still making pretty good money, but you may have noticed it's declining as we're losing people and having trouble employing people in our buildings because you got to promote somebody to replace them. And so even if you have plenty of population, you know, it takes time to do that. Another plague event here, the plague of wage fixing. We're not going to read this, but I'll scroll through it so you can read it if you want. So the first option, the ungrateful laborers must be shown their place. This is going to reduce pop satisfaction. Or trading market for societal stability is acceptable. This is going to increase stability, but reduce our trade advantage in London. Or at least our merchants and our burghers are going to be unhappy. Yeah, we're going to go with this option. Again, we just continue to do horrible things in the name of stability, right? Stability and profits. We actually have some money. I guess we don't have that much money because the Bishop of Durham is using his favors to ask for money. So we don't have to accept this, but there are penalties to doing so. So I think we're gonna go ahead and accept it. We don't want to lose the diplomatic reputation there. So we'll give them the money, and hopefully they use it wisely, make their economy better so they can pay us more money eventually. So these are all terrible routes here, guys, but we're just doing them because it satisfies our people. They want those goods. Our daughter Joan has come of age, so we can arrange a marriage for her. And looks like the French are facing a noble rebellion. These are very, very frequent in this game for the AI. They're like constantly facing rebellions. So I filtered this by direct heirs, and I think we're going to arrange a marriage with the heir or the Palatinate of the Rhine. So not be the first time that the English monarchy married into the Palatinate. So yeah, it makes sense. We'll do this. He's 24 years old. Get us a bit more prestige as well. Almost got our bridges constructed here. And we're saving up now, probably to get the road next, going out to Cornwall. Another plague event, conflict of fads. The first option is austerity will keep us pious and safe. We'll lose stability, but we'll get this modifier here, which will reduce unit food consumption while decreasing the estate satisfaction. So that's clearly not a good option. Or self-indulgence will keep us happy and safe. So our commoners will be more happy, but some of our locations will have the bubonic plague spread by 10%. It'll increase the pomp satisfaction though. Yeah, we'll go with that. Why not? So the plague will spread further. We do need to arrange marriages for all those characters. So take a look at the plague, and it's everywhere. And so that's what I was talking about, guys, that it doesn't matter. It's going to affect all your locations. So I don't see the point on stopping the trade. So we got two events here. The first one is regarding some villagers who want to plug all the holes in the ground. So they're certain this will remedy the issue, but experts warn that this will only harm the soil quality of the region. So we can allow them to do it, and this will damage the soil, but also decrease control. Or we can instead demand that they cease, which will irritate them. But we'll get 5 points towards centralization. Yeah, I guess we'll go with that. And then an event about absenteeism. So this is a parliament event, not a plague one. So we could lose support but get a bunch of money. We'll also lose stability, or just lose prestige. I suppose we'll take this because we can pass it even without that 5%. We have a lot of support right now. I don't really like losing the stability, but the money's helpful. Rather than construct any buildings, we're gonna get that road done. I don't know how much that's gonna cost. I'll have to take a look here in a minute. We got another event here. Our spies discover a good bureaucrat, so we can get legitimacy, prestige, or tradition. Let's go for the prestige. Our legitimacy is pretty high at the moment. Parliament is just about done. There we go. So that costs us a bit of money, but we got the cathedral started. So that's going to take 437 days. And the coalition has disbanded as well. So we burned off enough antagonism, so we don't have to worry about that. Not that anybody really needs to be doing a big old war anyways, considering that we got the plague moving through all of our territory, and the French are dealing with a big old noble rebellion here. Refugees at the gate. So we can take in these refugees who are trying to go from one location to, or trying to go from 3 locations to Oxford here. A bunch of penalties if we accept this. The only thing you're just going towards traditionalists, which we don't even want. It'll increase migration attraction in Oxford while reducing it in the other 3 locations. Not really all that beneficial. You could set up a plague camp for the refugees. This costs money, and basically results in you not getting the other penalties. Or you can just turn them away, lose prestige, and move towards innovative. And because I guess we're horrible people, that's what we've been doing with this plague. And we're going to go with this option. It has really revealed the horrible character of our king. Turns out Edward's not that great. He's a terrible guy. So we're in January 1351, and you see our population has dropped dramatically. We have lost a lot of people to the Black Death, which you can see it has a kill count for you. This is how many people we lost. Or our death count, I should say, 1.610 million. So very high losses. And I think a sizable number of those are probably over here in our settlements that we haven't built the hospitals. The hospitals only help so much to begin with. They're not going to stop many people from dying. But I'll be willing to bet that we don't have any hospitals in this area. Like, let's just take a look and see if there was any in the French territory. Yeah, there's not. So I wouldn't be surprised if we lost quite a few people in all the urban areas here, like in Paris. I don't know what their population was before the plague started, but it's currently at 119,000. So unfortunately, when we were just looking at Paris and its population, the game crashed. And that's the second time it has crashed today. So in the first 3 episodes, I didn't have any crashes while recording. Yet in this one, I've now had 2. And what's interesting is that there was a patch today. So I don't know if this is due to some issues that were created in the patch, but very unfortunate because making it kind of difficult to record because I actually lost a lot of progress on the first patch. But we were just going on speed 5, getting through the plague. But still, I had to replay through several months, and also it messes my recording software up. Every time I do that, I gotta like close everything down and start it back up. But anyways, hopefully we don't have any more crashes on today's patch. What I'm showing you is that we now have a cardinal, so we can participate in the voting for the papal bulls. And so this is the one that we currently have being voted for. And this is just an increase of tolerance of heathen beliefs. And generally, I don't know why you would ever vote against most of these. They're just bonuses. Every once in a while there's something you might not want to do, like maybe a crusade or something. But even if the crusade happens, it doesn't force you to participate. And the AI almost always seems to vote for him too. So even if you did vote against them, it's not like you're gonna change the vote. So yeah, we're gonna be able to vote for all those papal bulls now. Just want to let you know what's going on with that. But yeah, we continue to see a lot of depopulation. And now in February, and we just got this research finished up, so our nobles are going to be happier. And I think we should have enough to be able to get this road constructed. No, we're just short. We're just not making enough. So maybe next month we'll have enough. And we did get some opinion with the Bishop of Durham. I better get some opinion. We just gave him a bunch of money. I think we're just short. I think we need one more ducat to get that done. And Aragon is calling us into their war. It's a rebellion. We'll accept it, but we're not going to participate at all. So we'll turn down our army maintenance and our fort maintenance. I'm not going to help them defeat their rebels. And apparently we are taxing a little bit too much for the current situation. We'll make up by taxing the lords a little bit more. Alright, so we now have enough money to get this road going, and there's other places where I'd like to do roads too. But yeah, we're just kind of starting with the roads here. And I don't know if I explained market access yet, or at least showed you guys the tooltip. Oh, by the way, here's all the different types of roads you can have. Gravel, paved, modern, and then the railroads, which I guess they're not really roads, but yeah, those are the different options that will eventually unlock. So if we were to look at this location here, you see that their market access is 60%. So that's their ability to access the market that they're in. So in this case, it's London. And this is how it's important. So it's very important, basically. And so the roads will help with that as well. And so we're just kind of focusing on getting these roads constructed because they're expensive. So we're trying to get this done before we build. And I was like, why are we going so slow? Because we're at war, so it automatically slowed down there. And all of our subjects are going to raise up their troops. Maybe they'll help Aragon out, but yeah, we will not be. And exiles in the Kingdom of Scotland, so I guess some of our exiles are hiding in Scotland, and thus we're unhappy with them. Setting up this trade, even though I know it's not going to stick. The reason why our trade capacity is so low is because of all the dead people, guys. The economy is really hurting. We're making half of what we were before the plague hit us. But looks like our population's now growing again. So has it left? Yeah, it looks like it's completely out of all of our territory. Man, we flew way over there. Yeah, it's not in any of our provinces anymore. So our total casualties here, 1.631 million. So very significant. Our population is now down to 2.5 million. So we got an event to hear about foreign aid. We can say, let them do as they please. This is concerning the Bishop of Durham. This will increase his opinion, but we'll lose trade advantage. We're not going to do that. We can forbid the charity from exporting aid. This would piss off the burghers, but we'll get trade advantage. Or we could instead piss off the bishop and get some medicants. We're going to go with that option, I suppose. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. don't know if it's a sink port or if it's like Spanish. So it's like Cinque port. But the decline of the sink port is the event. You can read it here, but basically it's going to be constructing a dock in one of these 3 locations. So you can see these here. Southampton is the historical option, but you see that the cost is different. What that is based off of is the natural harbor suitability. So we can see that with Portsmouth, they have 100% harbor suitability, so therefore they're going to get a nice little bonus. It also increases the harbor capacity there. So even though this is the historical option, this would be the best one for us. And so that is what we're going to do. That's going to be cheaper. So we're now in 1352. We got that road just about fully constructed at this point. The commoners are getting uppity. So we can enforce our third authority, piss them off, increasing serfdom, or piss off the nobles, increasing free subjects. Well, we want to move towards free subjects, so we're just going to go with this, even if it does irritate the nobility. And what we can do is go ahead and stop hiding, get rid of that penalty. So that'll help a little bit, so that satisfaction will go up a bit faster. And then we're also going to get something constructed. We have a bit of money here, and this is something I've been meaning to get, but books were too rare. We're doing much better on that front. We want to construct a library. So this is going to increase cultural influence and monthly literacy, all local, and also grant increased institution growth, so that'll be pretty helpful. And that's one of the main reasons why we want to get this in our capital. But yeah, it has a bunch of other benefits. There's also the Globe Theater. You can't construct this. This is a unique building. You get it through events, so it won't let you build it anywhere. You know, London's the only place you can have it, because again, it's unique. It's going to be in one place, but you can see that it can only be constructed via event. So yeah, let's go and get the library built. That can be built in multiple locations, but we're just going to put it here for now. I am somewhat hesitant to construct much more because we don't really have, the people to do the jobs. They got to be promoted to them. But yeah, we'll go and get, we could always do more books, especially since we just got that library started up. We'll go and get it here. I know we could do it in London, but I'm sure there's more profitable things that could be built in London. Yeah, like the Tailors Guild. And let me take a look at the RGOs. We can only get one, but let's see what would be most profitable. Seems like it would be the horses. So we'll get that started. A new heresy has appeared, and our cabinet has finished their integration, so we're gonna have to assign him to another one. This was a quick one because it was just one location. I really need to deal with these rebels, so we want to deal with these guys here. Because yeah, that's stepping up a little too fast. I don't know that his military ability is going to be high enough to stop their progress. I guess we'll let it play and see. It looks like we'll be reducing their progress now. Excellent. We also just got the cultured overlordship, so increasing the opinion with our subjects. And one thing I don't know if I've shown yet, I feel like I haven't shown it in this series. I know I did it in the Japan video. These are all trades for buildings and our population. We need more books for that library. So I guess we'll just trade what we can here. But yeah, I haven't shown how to do manual trades. So let's say we wanted to trade for, I don't know, you can say any good. Maybe we want beer. So if you wanted to trade for beer specifically, then you go through here and you can just sort these by the goods or maybe by what the balance is. So maybe you want to trade for books, because that's what we're shortest on. So this button is for import. These are for exports. So obviously you have to have a surplus in order to do an export. And then we can select where we want to get the books from through here. Now, generally, you want to do what's most profitable, but sometimes, as we've seen in that Japan video, sometimes you do need to import something that maybe isn't going to be profitable, but you got to have that good for whatever reason. And that video is because we needed masonry, because we couldn't get anything constructed. Starting to see our economy slowly recover. And yeah, we're just going to build some RGOs. Just most profitable first. And I did want to show you guys the current proximity to capital situation. So it's changed a bit. Road hasn't done a whole lot here though. Still pretty bad. And I'm guessing the control is still sitting at 0. It's very difficult to increase the control way over here. simply because, I mean, it's really far away, but also because of those buildings. However, as you can see, our roads were not completely useless. Obviously, we increased control quite a bit up along this route. But yeah, even over here, I mean, we were at 0 control like up to here, or maybe right up to here, actually. And so we do have more control. You're not getting, you know, a ton more stuff. But yeah, it's better than it was. Now, where our real issue when it comes to control is over here. It's absolutely terrible. And that's a location where it would make sense to probably release a subject. So this one that we're voting on is to increase the estate satisfaction equilibrium. So obviously that's beneficial. So we want to go ahead and do that. So I guess we don't need these books anymore. They're just not, the routes aren't as profitable. No, we still need the books. We'll just trade for that because our people need it. Since this area here is heavily populated and very important to us, we're gonna get some roads constructed out that way as well. So we'll build one here, and then once we get that, we'll probably build it all the way through here, out to our newest town, Yarmouth. But what I really like about the roads is you can actually see them on the map, and those will change as the roads change, as you get different ones. I don't know if I've shown too much of this for people who haven't got to play the game themselves, but when you're hovering over, say, you know, the sheep here, this is wool. You can actually see the resources that are in the location on the map. And you can see that with buildings too. So like, let's say we went over here to London. You can see the cathedral in the location, hover over it, see the employment there. You know, modifiers are granted, resources they use. You can see that with all the different buildings here. Of course, our army's over there, but we got the monastery there, a brewery right here. And this is an event about land theft. Basically, we need to determine who we're going to side with. You got to piss somebody off, essentially. The clergy really like us, so it makes sense to side with the lords here to increase their opinion. I mean, it's a shame you lose so much opinion with the clergy because, again, that's important for the research. But yeah, we don't want to continue pissing off the lords any more than we already have. Trading for that gold there, that's probably not going to last. We have finished integrating Upper Artois, so we need to start working on a new location. Yeah, I guess we'll do this one. Yeah, just kind of move towards Paris. And integrating those will help with the situation there, the control, and a variety of other things. Sir William Percy just died. This is in regard to the Black Death. So the Pope is warning rulers and community leaders to avoid feeling hatred against minorities. The Black Death is without a doubt an act of God, and anyone who claims otherwise is committing blasphemy and could be excommunicated. So we can agree it is an act of God, increase opinion with the clergy, get some religious influence, but lose legitimacy, which we almost had it up to 100, or say the minorities must be controlling him. Okay, we're going to go with this one. Which I don't know where we stand right now. 91.36. Like if we wanted to request another cardinal seat, though we actually do have a cardinal seat now. So we need to get that road started. So you see we got the new road going over here. Oh, these two haven't been connected yet. So yeah, let's go and get the road here connecting over to that one. And then this road here connecting to Norwich. And then from there we'll go to Yarmouth. And I suppose we can get some more buildings started up here. We got enhanced spies as well, so increased spy network construction. And yeah, the French vassals, they just continue trying to cause trouble with us. So yeah, the horses are still where it's at. That's where the money's at. Although, we'll probably make good money with some of our buildings too. Or at least with the Tailors Guild. That might be it. Remember, we're not doing the Jewelers Guild. A winery would be wise, too. So let's go and get the Tailors Guild. We're going to construct... You know what? We'll get 2 of those. And then let's get some wine. We're trading for a lot of wine, so it'd be good to earn some of our own. We can get that in London. You know what? I feel like we should do it in Yarmouth. The new town needs to have a specialization. So that's what they're going to specialize in wine. So unfortunately, we do have to end today's episode here. You know, we finished up the war with France, dealt with the Black Plague, we got through it. still going on, but not in our territory any longer. And the Black Plague only happens once. We could also repeal this if we wanted to get rid of the penalties. We'd also lose the bonus to the disease resistance, but you know, it's probably worth getting rid of this to make our people happy, because the plague only comes through once, so it's not historically accurate, where there's wave after wave that spread around the world, killing tons and tons of people. But yeah, in this game, they only have you deal with it once, so it might not be historically accurate, but honestly, I don't even like dealing with it once every single campaign. I do feel like it's a little bit questionable. They put this in. I guess you can turn it off, but them choosing this start date so that, you know, every time you do a campaign, you got to do the Black Death. It's certainly an interesting design decision, but I wouldn't want to have to do it more than once in a campaign. So we got through that, and we're just trying to recover our population now from that and from the conflict with France. We're at 2.573 million. And, you know, focused on building up our economy and trying to improve the proximity to the capital across our territory. And see, like, these roads here are kind of unnecessary because they're going by sea. But you still get the benefits from having the road there. But also just trying to get our control up. Which you see, it is looking a lot better than it did before. And so that should be improving our crown power as well. So we looked at it, we're at 26%. So back to where we used to be. The lords are down. I think they started at 51 or 52. They're down to 48%. That's what we want to see. We want to get the nobles weaker. Still not at the point where we could ever think about taking one of their privileges from them. And it appears that Edward has gotten his third trait as well. He's a bold fighter. So we got increased army initiative. And that's for everybody. That's a ruler trait, so it's not a general trait. So it applied to all of our armies, whether he's leading or not, and moves us towards offensive. So that's a good one. I think it's fitting. And then Edward has probably gotten his first one, obsessive perfectionist. So that's a bad trait. So Edward's turning out to be just absolutely fantastic. We'll see what he gets in 3 years for his second trait. So now that we've gotten through the Black Plague, I would say that we could declare war in Scotland or try and expand our lands in Ireland. However, our truce is about to expire with France here in just 2 years. So maybe it might be better to wait and just do that war. You know, spend 2 more years working on our economy so that we can instead focus on expanding in France a bit more, because they're still a force to be reckoned with, guys. They still have a large army. It's 22,000 is what they can pull. Obviously, that's nowhere near as much as they used to have. Of course, part of that is from the land we took from them, but the most major element that would affect that is the plague, you know, killing all their people. So you'll see that we also have lost a lot of levies. We're down to 22,000. So we're about equal when it comes to levies. They don't vastly outnumber us just on a 1-to-1, but you know, with all their subjects, they're still kind of a problem. So we could always save up our money and try and influence another French subject to not join the conflict, though we wouldn't want it to be Normandy. We want them involved this time. And I did forget that we need to give this territory to our subject in Aquitaine. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to sell this location. And we'll get 135 gold. So I do hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. Do hope to see you on the next one. And thanks for watching.